to strike the count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
Sorry about that, everybody. Welcome into DodgerHeads. My name's Matthew Moreno. I'm hosting again. I apologize for that quick mishap. Hopefully you can forgive me. Joined by Scott tonight. Scott, how's it going?
Doing well. How we doing? Good W.
Yeah, that was it was another win for the Dodgers. Of course, if you guys were watching the game, it just ended 10-3. We're gonna walk you all through it. I think what's interesting for me, and we'll get into it a little bit later, is you heard a lot about the Orioles, right? Heading into this road trip, heading into definitely the series, obviously after playing the Mets, and Dodgers sort of stopped their momentum, if you will. The Orioles were on an 8-game winning streak heading into this series, and now they've lost 2 in a row. And so let's focus on tonight's game, since that's the one that we're obviously coming to everybody live from. After a quiet first inning, the Dodgers sort of exploded, if you will, for 5 runs in the second. It kind of started with a JD Martinez leadoff walk, David Peralta singled, and then Jason Heyward had the big swing for a 3-run home run. And I want to stop there really quick before we get into the rest of the inning, because that's now 9 home runs for Hayward this season. He hit 1 last year, and he hit 8 in 104 games during 2021. So, real quick, let's focus on Hayward. How impressed have you been by him?
It's just been, I'd like to say remarkable, but for me, what Jason Heyward's turned into with the Dodgers, primarily and exclusively a platoon guy versus right-handed pitching. And that's been his role. Like, it's been known. That's exactly why he's in there. And, he's kind of been, this is like a renaissance season for him. He looks comfortable. He looks like he's enjoying himself. For me, if you want me to grade it, it's been, spectacular. He provides, I don't know about an exceptional glove, but a very solid glove. He looks smooth. He's a strong dude. And when he hits the ball, you know it. So I'm incredibly impressed. I think a lot of people would say that. And if you look at his splits, I think he's got like a near 900 OPS for his right-handed pitching. So when he's in the game, I'm fairly confident in him. So it was just really great to see him jump on that and really put the Dodgers up early.
Now, there's one thing you touched on there that I want to kind of highlight. It is a platoon, right? That's what Hayward is part of. That's what David Peralta is part of. That was kind of the plan heading into the season, and we've seen the Dodgers pretty much stick to that. Hayward hit his home run in the second inning tonight, and then he came up again. His spot in the order came up again in the third inning. The Orioles had gone to a lefty reliever at that point they were hoping to give him some length, and Dave Roberts decided to pinch hit for Hayward and have Jake Marisnick take that at bat instead. Any strong feelings there at all?
No, I think that, Dodgers up comfortably, in my opinion. I think that they felt like they had enough bullpen to be able to guide themselves through it. They were seeing the ball. And once you kind of get to the middle part, like, Baltimore is a good club. Their bullpen is fantastic. But if you're up early, they're not going to put their top guys out there. So for Dave to pull Hayward and to put Jake Marisnick in, that's exclusively why Marisnick was brought in. They do need a right-handed hitting outfielder to face left-handed pitching, and to give him that runway for a few at-bats, you have to see what you have in Marisnick before the trade deadline to see if that's an area that you need to attack further.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you said definitely makes sense. I think the only thing for me I'll push back on is if it was Johnny DeLuca, maybe, who you want to get that at bat for, I would understand. Sure. I think with Jake Marisnick, his career, you sort of see, like, you kind of know what he is at this point. But I mean, look, to your point and explanation, and something that I've agreed on and have tried to express, whether these live shows or our shorts, is the Dodgers are going to stick to their platoons, right? For the most part. David Peralta did get to face a lefty, but for the most part, they stick to their platoons kind of no matter what. And so that's just where things stand.
Yeah.
All right. So let's pick back up with, after Hayward's home run, the scoring, sort of continued. Miguel Rojas walked, James Outman singled, and then there were RBI base hits from both Freddie Freeman and Will Smith. That put the Dodgers up 5-0. I think everybody's feeling pretty good at that point. Michael Grove kind of was in a rhythm. He was giving up some hits here and there, some loud contact, keeping the Orioles off the scoreboard, though, for the most part. Unfortunately, the Dodgers themselves went quiet in the middle innings until a 4-run 7th inning. They sent 10 batters to the plate. They had a double steal, Ironically, only one hit in that inning, which was JD Martinez's 2-run single.
Yeah.
And then, they scored again, 1 run in the 8th. And yeah, that kind of was it for them. By that point, the game was well in hand. And, I know we've covered the offense. The 4-run inning, like I said, was kind of built on some miscues from the Orioles, if you will. So let's focus on pitching. Michael Grove got the start. I don't know about you, but I was, up until the Dodgers basically announced their lineup with the starting pitcher tonight, I was kind of wondering if we were going to see a situation where Grove was following an opener once again. They let him make a traditional start. And on top of that, he faced an Orioles lineup that then was stacked with left-handed hitters, which has been a weak point for him in his career and definitely this season. But, he went 5+ innings. He was helped out by Yency Almonte, who stranded the 2 inherited runners in the 6th.
Yeah.
But 4 strikeouts for Grove. I think 5 hits allowed. What's your thoughts on his outing?
He was solid. Just like you said, a lot of hard contact. I think that, a couple feet here and there, and it could be a very different, outing for him. But it was fine. Let's strip that back and let's look at pure results. He didn't allow hits, 5 and 5 over 5. That's fine. 1 earned. But the most important thing for me was he stayed in the strike zone, on the season. I think he has like a 50% zone percentage. So today he was at about 60. So he was keeping it within the zone and obviously not wanting to walk a lot of batters, kept it to 2. And especially with an Orioles like top half of their lineup that's been, early on yesterday, kind of got on the Dodgers early and, got the first blow, but he stayed within the zone. And that's exactly what, they needed from Michael Grove. So impressed. Yeah. I think it was just, we'll keep it at just, it was fine. It wasn't just, I'm like, wow, keep him in the rotation, but he provided 5 and we need the length. And that's, it gave them enough to just stick to 4 pitchers and you didn't have to use anybody big time out of the pen, man.
Yeah. And I agree with you. It's not, nobody's going to sit here and say Michael Grove is an ace. He's a number 3 starter. I think he's a back of the rotation guy. At this point, he's somebody who the Dodgers sort of need just because of how everything is gone. Laura's saying, she thinks Grove is much improved. He seems more confident out there. I would agree with that. I think tonight in particular, he had his cutter working. He was really efficient in the first inning, had a long second inning that was really a byproduct of a 13-pitch. I think it was a leadoff walk or a walk with 1 out. But, otherwise he settled back in and he was efficient for most of the night. And, I mentioned some of his stat line. The only 1 earned run is credited to Yency Almonte coming in.
Yeah.
And he's now he's contributed 4 consecutive scoreless appearances for Yency. The Dodgers bullpen as a whole is kind of starting to find its footing a little bit. And I think Yency's been at the center of it. What are your thoughts on his performance recently?
Yeah, he's been really solid. Yeah. Once I talked earlier I think about a month ago that I was really worried about him against, left-handed hitters. He relies primarily on the sweeper. And I really wanted to see him, he throws a fastball with a ton of arm side run. So positive steps for him. It's the tough part to the Dodgers bullpen is that there was kind of regression across the board. So it was difficult to see how many guys, and I'll just say this right now. I apologize, Alex Vesia. My bad. Let's just keep it rolling. I've been hammering on him the whole year, but Yency, I'm happy for him. Like he needs to build on these. Let's continue it because he was a high leverage guy last year. He'll continue to need to be that for the Dodgers, and just keep building. Just keep building for him.
Yeah. All right. We have a super chat from Michael. So again, as we've told you guys, if you want to throw a super chat out there, we'll definitely stop our show and address your topic or answer the question to the best of our ability. This one is about Genesis Cabrera. He was DFA'd and Michael wants the Dodgers to pick him up. I admittedly am not particularly familiar with him. Scott, hopefully you can give us some quick answer on the fly.
Just know he's a hard throwing lefty. I think that it's something he probably will get picked up prior to the Dodgers, like something where the Dodgers would be at. I just know he walks a ton of guys, and he kind of feels like it'd be just another Alex Vesia situation. I would prefer they kind of stay away from that and let Caleb Ferguson develop and into a larger role. They still have Victor. You have Vesia. I think it's just an area they can kind of stay away from as a project. Maybe if they've got the innings to allow him to do that. I don't know if you'd be able to put him in the minors, and I don't necessarily want him to try to work it out in the big league. So I think I'm okay.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I agree with you from the standpoint of I don't think the Dodgers are really in any sort of position right now to take flyers on somebody who would be, at the major league roster. We're sort of seeing it a little bit with Jake Marisnick, but it's a different season, right? It's not last year or years past where they've run away. They're running away with the NL West. And that come August, come September, you can try guys out in different roles and things of that nature. It seems like they could end up being at least in a 2-horse race, potentially 3-horse race, depending on if the Diamondbacks or Giants can fade out at some point. But Michael, thank you. And again, if you guys have super chats, we're happy to answer those. All right. Well, I feel like this show is moving along. Let's get to one of, I know, Jeff's favorite topics, and player of the game. Is there anybody? There's a few, I think, easy choices that we could choose from. Freddie Freeman, he had 3 hits. He extended his on-base streak to 19 games, which is the longest stretch in the majors. Will Smith had 4 hits. Yep. They both had, I think, 1 RBI each. But who are you going with for player of the game?
I'm going to say Will Smith. I think it's not that he's been hidden, and it's that we haven't really seen a big game out of him lately. This one for me, I want to see him, get it rolling. I think this hopefully this is the one that kind of sets him off again, get him right. But Freddie Freeman, man, what more can you say about the guy? I'm just going to stick with Will Smith. I'm going to stay right there. 4-hit game. That's big. What did Jeff keep calling him? What was it?
I'm not repeating.
Not going to do it. Let's not do that. Nobody typed that.
I think maybe it's the janitor, but I can't confirm.
There you go. Yeah. So 4 for 6. That's just really big. Adds an extra base hit in there. It's just good. The Dodgers really wore Baltimore out tonight in terms of allowing them to make mistakes. They weren't really attacking the zone. And Will Smith, when he went in there, he was making a count. So I'm gonna stick with him. He's my one.
Yeah, that's a good choice. And for Smith in particular, I think he was a little slow coming out of the All-Star break. If I remember correctly, he didn't have too many hits during the Mets series. And so to see him sort of get going tonight is certainly a welcome development for the Dodgers. And real quick, you mentioned Freddie Freeman. I know Mookie had a quiet night tonight, but in terms of like MVP, National League MVP consideration, do you think Freeman and or Mookie are getting enough recognition nationally?
It's just tough because Ronald Acuna has taken full advantage of the steals right now, and rightfully so. Like that's an area of the game that we haven't seen. Like it's remarkable. Ronald Acuna is a talent, and just like you've heard announcers mention it, that if Acuna wasn't doing this, then Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman would undoubtedly be right at the top. I know. Take a quick look. Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman are separated by like 0.001 and OPS. Like they are absolutely locked in. Mookie Betts is slugging like never. I think this might be one of his best seasons of his career. It might be 2 outside of the MVP year in 2018. Yeah. And Freddie's just continuing to do what he does. So it's unreal. The Dodgers 1-2 punch is continuing to be the best, one of the best in baseball, arguably the best. And it's just, man, yeah. 1 for 4 Mookie. Come on, man. Step it up, bro.
Yeah, slacking, right? All right, let's pivot a little bit. Get some thoughts on the Orioles. Like I alluded to at the beginning of the show, they're second in the AL East, but right on the heels of the Tampa Bay Rays, who have been, kind of the talk of Major League Baseball. I think the Rays were either the first team overall or definitely the first American League team to 60 wins this year. So for the Orioles to be right behind them, like I said, they were on an 8-game winning streak, which is their longest of the season so far. This series so far, and there's still the 1 game tomorrow, but at worst the Dodgers have won 2 out of 3 already. Yep. Does this say more about the Dodgers, do you think, or the Orioles maybe not quite ready to take on like an upper echelon team?
I would say that the Orioles have played, they've played some very solid teams this year. I'm trying to pull up their, again, above. Yeah, they're 33-26 against teams greater than 5. So I know Blake loves that. Teams greater than 500. So they've played top teams this year. I think the Dodgers their plate awareness and zone awareness can wear you out. Like if you're avoiding the zone and you're not staying within it, they're not going to expand if they don't have to. If that word gets down from 2 of the most intelligent hitters, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, if that goes down the line, that thought process heading into an at-bat stays there. So, and I think we've seen that we saw that yesterday. We saw that today, that you're going to get worn down. That Mookie Betts at bat today, where, he got down and then just watched a bunch of pitches, high velocity. And it just shows that they're a very veteran team, that they're going to wear you down, just like you said, inexperience. But I think they have. I want to give them all the credit. I'm going to say that because they've showed that they can play at a high level. I just think the Dodgers are people keep sleeping on the Dodgers. I know it's tough, but I know a lot of people just are down on this team, that they are just, it's not the usual guys. But they're performing on all cylinders. Their platoon guys are right where they need to be. Their stars are starring. That's, man, I'm fired up about them right now.
Yeah, the gritty low budget Dodgers.
The gritty low budget Dodgers
chugging along. All right, we have another super chat. This one's from Laura. She wants to know, what was Rob Manfred doing in the locker room, and is that unusual? So if you guys missed it, Rob Manfred did visit the Dodgers in the clubhouse before the game tonight. It's not unusual in the sense that like it shouldn't be happening. It's unusual in that I think it's not something that's common. But Scotty, I don't know if you happen to catch it. The reason for his visit, and I think Raul Ibanez was with him as well, was to just talk to players and continue to get their feedback on different rule changes this year. Obviously, the pitch clock, I think, being the biggest one that they were discussing. If you guys were watching Monday's game, Ryan Brazier asked for a new baseball without enough time on the pitch clock, and so he ended up getting called for an automatic ball, which unfortunately happened to be ball 4 of that plate appearance. And so it ended up being leadoff walk. But yeah, that was kind of it. Anything you want to add there, Scott?
No, I think that's, as much as I love this, Manfred hate is unbelievable. But, did you see the clip of him at the draft? That was, if anybody hasn't seen that, when he goes up there to conclude the first round, might have been the funniest video I've ever seen. That was, he couldn't believe that he was getting booed. But for him to go to players specifically and kind of, I don't think he needed to do that, but I think that, it's good. Manfred, get in there, talk to these guys, see what they're feeling, how they're liking it. And yeah, that's fine. Do something, Manfred, get out in front of this instead of, I know he coordinated, the owners love him because he makes them a lot of money, but it's good to have him, meeting directly with the players, because at a certain point, these players are going to continue with the MLBPA. They're going to have some more say in this, and that's grown. So eventually that power struggle is going to come more to the mean. And I like that he's going in there. So that's good. Yeah. That's unusual. Sure. But yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think before this current collective bargaining agreement, I don't think there was enough dialogue between the league and maybe players directly. That's at least my read on it. It's not necessarily what I heard people say specifically, but so yeah, anytime if Manfred's going to, be willing to show his face, I think it goes a long way in at least sort of repairing, I think, the relationship, because the lockout, if anybody remembers the negotiations, it got ugly. It got ugly. It was bad for the sport.
It was tough.
But yeah. So thank you, Laura, for that question. Again, so we're going to end with questions. If you guys have any, throw them in the chat. Just remember to start it with question in all caps so that it's easier for us to pick out. And while I'm waiting for those to sort of be populated, it wasn't necessarily all positive for the Dodgers tonight. Jake Marisnick did come out because of some left hamstring tightness. So that's going to be another sort of injury for the Dodgers to monitor. Obviously, no disrespect to Jake, but on a much smaller scale than some of the ones they've dealt with already. But that is what the things stand with him. So let's see. We have another question from Michael about Max Muncie. Scott, I don't know if you happen to catch our live show on Sunday, and just honestly on Twitter in general. Muncie's been a pretty hot topic. Michael wants to know, Muncie has clearly declined from the player he was years ago. His production isn't reliable. We can clearly get something for him in a trade in the offseason because he's a power bat. Is it time to move on?
Time to move on. It's, I did see someone talking about that on Twitter right before this, and I kind of did a little bit of research. I'd have to scramble kind of on my phone and my billion little tabs here, finding all the, my stance on it. But yeah, it's been really rough for him. his line, I remember I looked at, or before Matt Olson kind of went off, they had really similar stat lines. Muncie got off to a huge start, but I think since like the middle of June, end of May, Muncie's batting under like 180 or 160 something. Like I need to pull it up, but it's been a struggle for him. And I kind of get a little ticked when I see, so say Will Smith's not in the lineup. Max Muncie, I think, is batting in the 3 or the 4. It's just been entirely too high. Like he's been getting it when I think when he's behind, his OPS drops by 500 points, which is insane. So he's been a liability in that spot. He doesn't make enough contact. And if he runs into one, or he, gets a 2-run, 3-run homer, and that's been just boosting him up like that. So it's hard. That's a good point. It's a good question. It's something that, I don't know if they can address it right now, but I know there's been a lot of talk. Let's see what Michael Busch has had. And I just don't know. He's just been so productive in the playoffs, but it's definitely something that they'll have to look into. I just don't know if they can do it right now. I don't know if they can afford to mess around with that at this very moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see any sort of change now. And honestly, the Dodgers have a team option on Muncie for next season. I forget if it's 10 million or 13 million. I would be shocked if they decline it. Honestly, I think they pick it up, and if they feel they need to move on at some point, then maybe they look to trade Muncie either during the offseason or early next year. I think what's going to be interesting to see is if this is just who Muncie is. At first, a couple years back, it was okay. He, I forgot which hand it was, but he had a fractured finger because he was hit by Alex Wood during one of their summer squad games. And so that was kind of thought to be the reason that he was thrown off. And then the next season, obviously on the last day of the regular season, his left elbow just got completely destroyed and shredded. And so then the ensuing year, it was kind of attributed to, okay, he's just coming back from that. And frankly, it could be maybe a situation where he just hasn't fully recovered, if you will. I know his mechanics, Muncie talked about it recently. We're going to have an article up on DodgerBlue.com coming this week. He's basically said, he's been searching a lot this year, trying different things. He went to the step back again, then he stopped doing it. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely been an uphill battle for Muncie. In terms of this year, I think he's safe. And honestly, I think even at minimum the start of next season.
Yeah, so I pulled it up. Since June 2nd, Max Muncie has an 81 WRC plus, and he has a 153 batting average, 625 OPS, slug 318. So it's just not there right now. And just like I said, when he's behind, it's his OPS, I think, drops to, from when he's ahead, it's like 1,000. When he's behind, it's around the 500 mark. So that's that night and day. Well, that's really difficult. So if he's getting attacked and he's not attacking early, it's a tough time. I'm not gonna say a black hole, but it's approaching a spot where it's like, when you see that behind, you're going to be worried.
Yeah. And it's tough sliding, not only at the plate, but then I think, you layer in defensively. He hasn't been great. I mean, at best, he's been average. And so, yeah, I think it's tough. Next question we have is Vesia back? So he didn't pitch tonight, but he did pitch in the series opener. He stormed off the field. It was vintage Alex Vesia. I know he's one of your favorite guys to talk about. So is he back?
Hey, I'm the first person. I'll be happy. I even said if he's back, I will own that. I'll weep all day long. I'll field all hate. That's fine by me. He looks, he's staying in the zone. That was the biggest issue. It's when you're not fine, when your heat map is, dotted all over the place, that you don't have to respect anything. Like you can just wait for him to walk, get behind in the count, and then you can just hunt fastballs when he's not making competitive pitches. But is he back? I'd like to see, a larger sample. But as far as it right now, I think dating back to, June 21st, he hasn't allowed an earned run. So he's been solid. So keep it rolling. I know that, that's only 6 in the third, but he's staying in the zone. He's attacking. He's striking guys out, and he's, most importantly, he's not walking people. So this is his latest stint where he's doing solid, man. Keep it rolling. These relievers, you never know. Blake's best friend. He said they're the, you never know. They're the most up and down players in the team. And if you're able to get Vesia, that's another guy with a lot of dog. And they need that. And with Daniel Hudson now out, you need guys that are going to come in. Forget the splits. You don't need him. If you're able to attack, he's got to be there, because that's high velocity guy. He's not afraid to play up in the zone. When he's on, he's been one of the best in baseball with his fastballs up in the zone. So he will be important, and I'll eat that one, man. He's been on it. So let's keep it rolling, Alex.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Next question is, popular subject, Ohtani. The question is, does trading for Ohtani really hurt the farm, or do we have too many prospects that need a chance elsewhere with the new wave of pitchers in AA?
So where are you on this? Come on, you've got some fantastic thoughts, man.
So for me, I think the Dodgers have enough depth in their farm system to pull off a trade. And if Ohtani is available at the deadline, which I am skeptical of, I'm not convinced that the Angels will trade him. But if he is, and if they're, the latest report was they're at least going to be listening to offers, I think if you're the Dodgers, you have to make a pretty compelling offer, and honestly, almost one that's too good for them to say no. What we've seen from Andrew Friedman in the past is the Dodgers trade from positions of depth. They have a ton of young pitchers right now, so pluck from there. Michael Busch, I think we've discussed at length in some of our other videos. He just doesn't seem to fit in their plans. He's almost like this season's Willie Calhoun, if you will, where, they have this prospect, but there's just not necessarily room for him, even though I think there's a little bit more of a compelling case for Busch than there is with Willie Calhoun. And so all that being said, I think the Dodgers should, make a pretty aggressive offer for Ohtani and see what it gets you. If the Angels say no, then they say no. At least, you swung and missed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to plug Angels Nation for a little bit.
There we go. Go for it.
Guys, everybody, I write like a lot for Angels Nation, and I've been mulling over this for quite some time, and I've had like even my own time to do it. I have a pretty in-depth thing of what the Angels should do. So I'd appreciate, I'll tweet it out. I'd appreciate a read on that one, but I don't think that Artie Moreno, this is my stance. If he trades him, then this is a complete shift away from what Artie Moreno would do as an owner, as a guy who covets all and any, big name player. He has such an infatuation with, the spotlight free agents that for him to signal a rebuild by trading away a generational, once in a sport, like we might, you hear it all the time. You might never see another Shohei Ohtani. For him to trade that for a grab bag of 6 prospects, in the top 100, that would make a dent in the Dodgers, but the Dodgers would still have, I think, more top 100 prospects than I think 3/4 of teams in the league. So the Dodgers can do it. Absolutely. And nobody would blink an eye. People would say, damn, that sucks. That's a lot. No, it's not. Like, it is absolutely not. And it's not too much. There is no cost like from your farm. Like, you give Andrew Friedman a few years and he'll have that rebuilt right up. No problem. So whatever they do trade, if it's too much, just you have to understand what you have. I just don't think Artie Moreno will do it. I just don't see it especially to the Dodgers. Imagine that PR hit. He's a guy who loves to be liked, and he knows he's not.
Yeah. Great points. And before everybody gets mad at us, Angels Nation is a sister site of DodgerBlue.com. So Scott's not plugging a rival for no reason. He's doing great. He's doing great work for us across our network. All right, we have so I think this is a longtime listener, first time question from Blake Williams. I think that says, is Crimson Tide alumni David Robertson the missing piece for the bullpen?
No. Oh man. What's up, Blake? How you doing, man? But I don't think so. He's just an innings guy. He's basically doing exactly what Phil Bickford is. Pitch late innings, fill up the strike zone. If you need to give up a few, why not? That's fine.
Yeah.
You need them. You need them all over.
All right. So we'll get to some last ones here. If you guys have a question, throw them in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to be winding this down. Let's see. I saw one here. Question from David. What's the word on the street about the Dodgers making a move at the deadline? So we're about 2 weeks away from the August 1st trade deadline. To this point, for the most part, the Dodgers have only been linked to, at least publicly, Lucas Giolito and Ohtani, if you want to say that they've been linked to him. Other than that, there hasn't been much to report. Scott, is there anybody that you specifically want to see the Dodgers sort of go after, whether it's one of the names that have been out there or somebody under the radar?
I'm going to say that there's just, starters, not yet. Giolito got smacked around today, but he's interesting. I'm not sure the direction that they'll go, which starter. I think I would like to see them go after someone with a little bit more control if they want to deal for a starter, someone with 1 year so that they can go ahead with that instead of a rental. I don't think this is a rental year. If you're going to deal from your AA guys that are having the best seasons, perhaps as a whole, your prospects, you want to get some length out of them, at least 1 more year so you can gauge what you have before, diving resources into them. Not my money, but theirs. But more so on the right-handed hitting outfielders. I'd like to see Lane Thomas explore that. I know he's the top name out there, but Brent Rooker, he's another one. He's interesting. You're going to see a theme. I'm more so on the thing of right-handed hitting outfielders. We need someone to come in and really bop versus lefties and who can stay in there competently versus righties if need be.
Yeah, and Lane Thomas is a name that Jeff brought up in our kind of trade deadline preview. So that's posted to our YouTube channel if you guys want to go check that out from here. It's one that we got to record when we were out in Las Vegas from the Blue Wire Studios, who've been great to us. Yeah. I think this might be our last one kind of related to this. What about Bieber or Flaherty? Either of those guys?
Well, I know Bieber's had, some arm trouble recently. So I think they'll kind of shy away from him. That's something I don't know. Interesting. He's a horse. He's going to go out there and, he wants to pitch late into the game. So if healthy, absolutely. So we'll have to see what comes from him and what kind of their medicals, what you see from Cleveland. Flaherty, I just don't know. He doesn't scream like, big game stuff. And I think the Dodgers need an impact 3. I know I see Stroman out there. I don't know. Maybe. That's interesting, but he's been getting banged around pretty recently, so I'm kind of okay on that.
Yeah, all right. So we're still getting some trickling in, so let's do this. And I'll throw – Scott loves food questions as well, so if you guys have any of those, we can end the show with that.
I'll do one.
Okay, he'll do one. So if you have a good food question, throw it in there, and I'll try to pick it out. Otherwise, we'll probably end on this one. This is from Derek. If Artie Moreno does not trade Ohtani, are the Dodgers the front runner to get him in the offseason?
I think the majority of Major League Baseball would say so. Yeah, I was, speak with friends about this, that I don't know of another free agent that you say Dodgers more so than, I'll say it, like it would be an organizational failure to not overspend or bid more than anyone else, considering how much resources the Dodgers have. So what they did and when they brought over Agon and they brought over, Beckett, Crawford, like the money that they flexed there, this is the time to do it again. And if you're outbid for what Ohtani brings on and off the field, you have to be. In your mind, the front office, Guggenheim Group, they have to be the front runner. And I think around baseball, I think people will see that. If they fumble it, that'll be the biggest fumble ever.
What about one thing that kind of just came to mind, because I've seen it kicked around a little bit. And obviously, with JD Martinez on the team, he's pretty much strict DH. I know he can play left field, but it's kind of emergency only. If the Dodgers trade for Ohtani, how do you think they end up balancing that with JD still as their DH as well? I mean, and obviously, as great as JD Martinez has been for the Dodgers this season, he's not somebody who you say, well, no, we're not going to potentially trade for Ohtani because of JD, right? So do you anticipate him getting just more time in left field then? Does Ohtani just get an extra day off because they're trying to start JD? Or any concern there?
Putting JD in the field, sure. But I think that if they do it, they'll figure it out. I thoroughly believe like an extra day off, like the way Ohtani's swinging, you want him in every single chance you get, unless like his, this finger issue that he has right now. He said he's dealing with blisters and a broken fingernail that hasn't really impacted his bat. Clearly he's hitting everything to the moon, but I think that you need to have him in there every day as a hitter. But JD, they'll find a spot for him. I know he's played, a couple innings. I don't know how many this year in the field. But I don't think they'll have any problem. I think he's played left field twice this year. I think he would absolutely sign up. Like these guys know they want to play with the best. So I think JD would be okay with it. He might, grown and he hasn't had to do this much, and health wise, like I think they might be willing to risk that, but I trust them. I really trust them to make that. They would make that work. I think it'd be all right.
All right. So I see, we have another one from Blake, who's still Blake. At this point, you should have just hopped on the stream with us tonight. He's saying Hunter Renfroe is a good target for the Dodgers and probably more realistic from the Angels. I agree with that. My counter would be why not just package Hunter Renfroe and Shohei Ohtani together and call it a day with all the prospects? Maybe the Dodgers will throw in some cash for that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, no, Hunter Renfroe is definitely, he's been slugging against lefties. He's been good. So I would like that. I wouldn't mind that at all. He's on last year of arbitration. He's definitely one that they will trade. So, and he's kind of a league average guy versus lefties, but definitely upside. That'd be that kid, Blake. Why didn't you just come on here, man? We could have had a conversation about that. You want to talk my Angels?
All right. So
buddy.
I didn't see any food questions, so I think you lucked out, Scott. There is one. Somebody asked me, they want to know if I've given my dog a puppy patty from In-N-Out yet. I have done it once. We don't give her much like table food. And so it was kind of a one-time thing to see how it goes. She loved it. But yeah, other than that, we kind of stick to just her regular dog food. She just gets shredded carrots, blueberries, strawberries. I think that's it. My wife takes care of the majority of that. So sometimes she eats healthier than I do on most days. Let's see. I'm scrolling through here. I'm not seeing anything else. Well,
I'm getting
right.
In-N-Out tonight, Blake.
All right. Well, okay. So Scott, you're getting In-N-Out
Just sent
tonight.
the text. I'm getting it right now.
Let's hear your In-N-Out order then.
It's not going to be weird. Everybody knows I don't like cheese. Triple meat, raw and whole grilled onions, no spread, sub ketchup and mustard, fries. Well, what's the deal with that? What's wrong? Anybody laugh at that?
While we wait for people to respond, Derek wants to know if you enjoy a good root beer float.
Man, growing up, I used to kill root beer floats. Absolutely. Yeah, solid stuff. You get like a nice cherry Coke, a little bit of vanilla there. Yeah, those are good days. That's the old me.
Wait a minute. A cherry Coke?
You never had that? It's good, brother. Yeah.
No,
I have root beer floats with root beer, but you have to, when you're a connoisseur, as I was like a teenager.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that is it for tonight. Again, Dodgers, another win over the Orioles. They're in position to complete a series sweep now on Wednesday. And as a reminder that game is starting at, I think, 10:05 Pacific time. So it'll be an early one. So it'll be some breakfast and baseball tomorrow. But thanks again, everybody, for joining us. And we will see you next time.